stories today. Now we're going to begin with the air crash in Washington D.C. and the reason is because the BBC was pushing this out yesterday. This was the front page of the BBC website. Trump says cause of Washington D.C. air crash. It left 67 dead is unknown. But then the subtext there says the president also suggested without evidence that diversity hiring policies in air traffic control could have been a factor. Well, first of all, is there a politician on the planet that doesn't say things without evidence, Patrick?
There's not, especially Donald Trump, but everybody should know that by now.
Absolutely. Now, but however, what this implies is that he was telling lies. That's certainly what the BBC is implying. But if we go across the Atlantic to ABC News, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was accusing Trump of throwing out idle speculation without citing evidence. So here we've got this common narrative on both sides of the Atlantic again. But the question is, what actually happened? So to try to just explain this a little bit, let's bring up the air chart for the airport. Now, this is the helicopter chart in particular, and what you can see on there, the purple, you can see the three runways at the airport in the center with the green dot, but the purple lines around the place are routes for helicopters. So these are helicopter routes. And the helicopter that was involved in the crash was heading this direction here along Route 1 and onto Route 4. Now, the key point about this is that the maximum height that they should have been at was 200 feet. They should have been below that, and that would have taken them below the glide slope for the runways. The pilot had allowed the helicopter, though, to climb to at least 300 feet at the time of the accident. So that's one thing to note. The regional jet itself was originally intended to land on runway 1, which is the one that heads north-south, basically. But he was asked by air traffic control if he could take runway 33 instead, and he agreed to do that and carry it out. What most of the qualified commentators that I've seen talking about this are calling a challenging approach. So in other words, he was totally focused on that. ATC, the air traffic control, asked the helicopter pilot twice if he had the regional jet in sight. And each time the helicopter pilot asked for and was given visual separation clearance. In other words, it was the helicopter pilot's responsibility to maintain that clearance. Now, Trump said that the airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter, he said, was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It was a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. And Trump was asking, why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? That's a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented, not good. Now, the only good question in that comment from Trump was, why did the air traffic control leave it to the pilot to decide? Because the likelihood of error here was huge. Yeah. Flying at night over a city, it's one thing looking from the ground up at aircraft, you see all the big flashing lights and all this kind of thing. But when you're in the air and looking across at other aircraft, what you have is this landscape of lights from the city, which an aircraft will disappear into very, very easy. So the lights merge with the city. But even worse in this case, it's known that the helicopter pilots were using night vision goggles, which are great for landing in a dark field in the middle of nowhere, but it makes it even harder to distinguish another aircraft that's flying at the same time. But the worst part of this is the two aircraft were approaching each other for most of that time absolutely head on. So there's no relative motion or very little relative motion, which even makes it harder to recognize the danger that we're in. So the helicopter pilot undoubtedly should not have asked for and should not have been given clearance for visual separation under these circumstances. And the question is, why did that happen? And the issue does seem to be one of understaffing. And in fact, this has been commented on for a very long time now. So this is CNN from 2024, from May. FAA still short about 3,000 air traffic controllers, new federal numbers show. And the issue here is that the FAA began its DEI hiring program in 2014. Now, on the face of it, there doesn't seem to have been a marked increase in near misses or ground mishaps. And if you look at this article here, diversity in air traffic control, the figures seem to show that. But this is a complex issue. It takes time for the effects of a new hiring policy to take effect as long-serving staff retire gradually, and the influence of the younger new generation becomes greater. The shortage of staff may be manageable for a time, but probably not forever. I mean, I have to say, I do watch this, and in the last 12 months, there have been quite a number of near misses, which could be absolutely attributed down to shortage of staff, overwork, and so on. So I would suggest that Trump was absolutely right on this issue, that the BBC is absolutely wrong to be criticising. This is something that absolutely has to be considered. The question of why they're not, first of all, they're not able to recruit. And is that because they are busy trying to recruit from certain, with positive discrimination in mind, rather than finding the best people for the job?
Well, first of all, we have to just underline the fact that this is a fluke. If you look at the data over the long period of time, very rare air-to-air collisions in America, almost never.
Right.
In terms of fatalities for an air accident, that's also unusual. So just to be a devil's advocate, the other party is, I assume, military. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
So, and again, nobody's pointing the finger at any negligence or incompetence from the military pilots. That seems to be off limits and verboten in the conversation. Certainly that would put a lot of heat on the Pentagon at a time when their controversial defense secretary has just been confirmed, and they're hoping for, to no pun intended, a nice runway into the first term. And then this happens.
Right.
So I want to know, what the story is there, because if these are experienced pilots, they should know not to go above a 200-foot deck around Reagan Airport, which is really busy around there. So a lot of different questions there. But yeah, the diversity issue is big, especially after the LA fires. It became a front and center issue. So it's obviously part of the debate.